I'm not a huge fan of Justin Trudeau, the new Prime Minister of Canada, but because I don't want to turn this into a political channel, I won't get into the reasons why. If you're interested in learning more about that, I suggest reading some of my political writing, which I will link to in the thing below. However, in light of all the attention currently being given to Justin Trudeau in the wake of his big flashy visit to Washington this week, I thought it would be worth dispelling some of the more superficial myths about the man. Myth number 1, Justin Trudeau is super young. Trudeau was born in 1971 and was elected at age 43. He is only 1 year younger than Paul Ryan and Ted Cruz, and only a few months younger than Marco Rubio, Bobby Jindal, and Mike Lee. He is actually older than Nikki Haley. The previous Prime Minister of Canada, Stephen Harper, was only 3 years older than Trudeau when he was sworn in. President Obama was 4. David Cameron in the UK was 43 when he was elected as well. The fact is, these days, a lot of politicians tend to get elected in their 40s. The average age of politicians running for office has been in decline all over the world, making Trudeau a trend, not an outlier. Myth number 2, Trudeau is so handsome. I mean, yes, he is obviously blandly good looking for a man of his age, particularly when compared to his gargoyle of a father, but the fact is most countries' leaders are a lot better looking these days than they were in past decades. Again, this is because the base age of world leaders has been in decline, and because the power of television has made it a lot more important for politicians to be reasonably attractive in order to be successful. For example, this is the president of Holland today compared to the president 30 years ago. Here is the current Prime Minister of Italy compared to the Prime Minister in 1975. This guy used to be president of Mexico, today this guy is. Frankly, it would be bigger news at this point if a country elected a really ugly guy. Or woman. Number 3, Trudeau is an outsider. Trudeau is super rich and was the candidate of the political party that has held power for most of Canadian history. He was elected to lead his party with over 80% of the vote. He was well liked by the media and beloved by the political establishment. And oh yes, he is also the son of the most successful and popular Prime Minister in Canadian history. This is not a slight against Trudeau personally, but countries have a real tendency to elect kids of past leaders to power. America's done it, Japan has done it, India's done it, the Philippines have done it, Kenya has done it. It's pretty common just about everywhere. Again, it would have been bigger news if a popular Prime Minister's son wasn't elected. Myth number 4, Trudeau is super popular in Canada. Canada has a pretty strong three-party system, which means most prime ministers are elected with less than 50% of the vote. Trudeau was elected with 39%, which was no better than the guy who came before him, and in fact pretty average by Canadian standards. Trudeau got more votes than anybody else, but the majority of Canadians voted for someone other than Trudeau, which is generally how Canadian politics works. It was a very ordinary, divisive victory, and far from a national landslide. And number 5, Trudeau and Obama are best pals. The American media keeps going on and on about how Trudeau and President Obama supposedly have this deep bromance. Do you know how many times they've actually met face to face? Twice, including this week. But of course, Trudeau's only been in power for 100 days and President Obama already has one foot out the door, so it's probably unreasonable to expect them to have a particularly strong friendship. But the point is, just because you can imagine that maybe two guys would be good friends, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are. I think that's what they call shipping. Barack gasped. "Justin," he exclaimed, "I certainly didn't expect to find you in the Congressional Library after dark."